Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। मोहतरम हारून दुरानी साहब, प्रेसिडेंट 2022 ऑफ अपना, डॉक्टर रिजवान खालिद साहब, एक्स प्रेसिडेंट अपना, अरशद रहीम खान प्रेसिडेंट एलेक्ट साहब, जोसेफ इमानुअल साहब, प्रेसिडेंट्स ऑफ एलमनाई एसोसिएशंस, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum. It's indeed a great pleasure to be addressing an elite organization like APPNA, and I remember the struggle which doctors went through in establishing this organization, and I remember the discussions in the 70s when I used to live in Michigan, where it was formed in Dearborn, and subsequently you have progressed tremendously. So I must congratulate you on 45 years of great service to the profession and to Pakistan, in recognizing and putting the footprint of Pakistani physicians in your adopted country. I believe the diaspora has a passion, a different kind of passion, और मैं ये समझता हूँ कि आप लोगों का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो अमेरिकन माशरे के अंदर, यूएस माशरे के अंदर भी बहुत बड़ा है। मुझे ज़ाती तौर पर इस बात का अफसोस भी होता है कि इतना खूबसूरत टैलेंट, इतना अच्छा टैलेंट जो पाकिस्तान ने बड़ी मेहनत से जो प्रोड्यूस किया और बड़े सस्ते दामों में प्रोड्यूस किया एज़ फार एज़ यू आर कंसर्न, उसके बाद हमने वो सारा टैलेंट एक्सपोर्ट कर दिया, क्योंकि हमारे अपने स्ट्रक्चर्स इस काबिल नहीं थे कि हम आप सब लोगों को अकोमोडेट कर सकते। हम प्रोफेशनल्स, डॉक्टर्स, इंजीनियर्स सब बाहर हिजरत कर गए और बेहतरीन काम किया। यानी यहाँ की पाकिस्तान की तरबियत और एक इमिग्रेंट्स का एक पैशन होता है, एक इनोवेशन की कैफियत होती है, जो अब आप सब लोगों ने उसका मुजाहरा किया और बड़ी तरक्की की। माशाल्लाह आपने अमेरिकन सोसाइटी के अंदर नाम पैदा किया, आप लोग आउटस्टैंडिंग पोजीशंस पर वहाँ पहुँचे हैं, और ये कोई छोटी बात नहीं है, पाकिस्तान के लिए भी बड़ी फ़ख्र की बात है। अलबत्ता मुझे अफसोस इस बात का है कि आप को हम अपने यहाँ नहीं अकोमोडेट कर सके। अलबत्ता आप जब बाहर गए हैं तो जब भी मैं अमेरिका के अंदर चंद सालों की रहाइश मैंने 70s में की मिशिगन में और 80s में की कैलिफोर्निया के अंदर, तो एक यूनिक कैफियत मैंने पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा के अंदर देखी। और वो पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा जो है और डायस्पोरास के अंदर भी होगी, मगर मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि जैसे पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा बड़ी पैशनेट रहती है कि पाकिस्तान के साथ उसका ताल्लुक़ बरकरार रहे। और वो पैशन जो मैंने देखा, वो पैशन मज़हब से ज़्यादा उस कल्चर का था। मज़हब का भी यकीनन पैशन है, मगर मज़हब तो दुनिया के अंदर फैला ही इस तरह से है कि लोग गए और इस्लाम जैसे फ़िलिपाइन तक पहुंचा, तो समंदरी रास्ते से श्रीलंका और से लेकर फ़िलिपाइन तक हर जगह पहुंचा। तो वो तो मज़हब तो पहुंचता है, और मज़हब हर जगह आप उसकी शाखें बनाकर चलते हैं। मगर जो डायस्पोरा के अंदर वो कल्चरल वैल्यूज़ जो पाकिस्तान की अच्छी वैल्यूज़ हैं, जो वहाँ आप अपने ख़ानदानों के अंदर भी देना चाहते हैं, वो हर सोसाइटी की अच्छी वैल्यूज़ हैं। वो पाकिस्तान की भी अच्छी वैल्यूज़ हैं कि ज़ाहिर है अल्लाह ताला ने एक चीज़ दिलों में पैदा की है कि बच्चों के साथ हर एक को मोहब्बत होती है, वो है। फिर बुज़ुर्गों की देखभाल जो है वो एक अनोखी चीज़ है, जो पाकिस्तान के अंदर कल्चर के एतबार से आप सब लोगों को याद भी आती होगी, और आप कोशिश भी करते हैं कि इसका वहाँ एहतमाम करें। तो ये जो पैशन है ये बड़ा यूनिक है। लिहाजा मैंने हमेशा ये देखा जहाँ भी गया कि पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा का पाकिस्तान के साथ लगाव अच्छा है, और इस चीज़ को हम रेकग्नाइज़ करते हैं और आपके कंट्रीब्यूशंस को रेकग्नाइज़ करते हैं। यही वजह है कि अपना की अलमनाई एसोसिएशंस हैं कि आप सब लोग जिस जगह से निकले वहाँ से आपने उसी इंस्टीट्यूशन के साथ एक अलमनाई एसोसिएशन बनाई, उसी इंस्टीट्यूशन के साथ आपने एक अलमनाई association बनाई, and you are then helping those institutions in all kinds of ways. I have seen different institutions where I've been requested to speak also in English more than Urdu, so it doesn't make any difference. I'm more comfortable in Urdu, but I would speak in English also, probably because the youngsters in the US probably would understand English better. So now I would like to speak more of English than in Urdu. So what I believe is, then all these alumni associations have invested in their institutions, which is a matter of pride. Every institution I go to, I see the contributions of APPNA in those institutions, financial, setting up health clinics, setting up different departments, and your involvement in those areas. So that is fantastic. I would like to keep on encouraging that, but every time I went to the US, when I was queried by the diaspora of Pakistan on what they can do, I will come to that later. But let me speak of the fact that where Pakistan is today. And I'm sure all of you are concerned. As the President of Pakistan, I would like to impress upon you that even because Pakistan may be going through difficult times, but at the same time the direction of the country is right. Please keep in mind the fact that the world is changing and Pakistan is trying to walk a tightrope. Pakistan has had very good relations with the United States over the past 6 decades, and I remember the times of Sento. I remember the time when Pakistan encouraged an isolated China and a US linkage with China, which was very much appreciated by President Nixon and Henry Kissinger. Pakistan was instrumental. A time when only the Pakistan International Airlines flew between it was the only airline which flew out of China. At that time, it was a very good diplomatic coup to keep it silent and to encourage that relationship. Then we had good cooperation as far as the Soviet era situation in Afghanistan was concerned. We cooperated on the war on terror, and I think as the times are changing, as the US withdrew from Afghanistan, there is a new direction to Pakistan-US relationships. There is an effort to reset it from a geostrategic relationship to a geo-economic relationship. Pakistan being a corridor to the Central Asian states through Gwadar, being the shortest route of Central Asian states and China to Gwadar, is a very major economic link. And you can't imagine, during my visits to all these Central Asian republics in the past few years, I have found a desperation among the presidents and the prime ministers of these republics, desperation to start this linkage, to look for peace in Afghanistan, to establish this linkage in a definite manner so that trade can happen. So looking at the geopolitical situation, where is Pakistan today? Pakistan today has a youth bulge, which is very important. There is nothing which I will tell you today which will be new to your ears, but I want you to understand the priorities which sitting in Pakistan, I feel Pakistan should have. Pakistan has a huge youth bulge. And when Mr. Bill Gates visited Pakistan some time ago, we had a good discussion on the fact that if this youth bulge can be translated into a skillful set of people, the world needs people desperately, not only in the IT sector, but in every sector. IT has encouraged every sector to go online, for example. IT has managed it, made it easier for all of you to be able to teach, if you want to, in your alumni institutions where you came from. IT has made it easier for all of you to provide telehealth in sectors in Pakistan if you want to. And Pakistan too should make arrangements to help accommodate and welcome all of you. I believe I have given a lot of importance to telehealth in my communications with the medical community, because I believe, and I will sketch a scenario for you. What is the desperate need in Pakistan as far as telehealth is concerned? Imagine a worker who goes out to work, a daily laborer who goes out to work, comes back home, and his wife is feeling uncomfortable, or she has a stomach ache or a headache. Having come back, having earned his livelihood for a day only, he is reluctant to take his wife to a hospital, believing the fact that he'll have to take a rickshaw or a taxi, spend money, and he doesn't know what will happen. I wish, so the matter gets postponed to the next day. And you as doctors understand, when postponing health issues to the next day, what happens? So therefore, even the next day he goes out to work, comes back, and the matter can still be postponed. So what I believe, for example, me, when I'm a middle class dentist, or any of my other friends around, if they have a medical problem, the first thing they do is to call a friend like you and find out that I have a serious stomachache, what should I do? And you'll get good advice immediately, a free advice from among your middle class social structure. What happens to this poor woman? She can't. She doesn't have anything to go to. And I wish at this stage there could be a helpline of telehealth where she could make a call and she would go through some routine AI supported differential diagnosis of some sort, and she could be guided on what to do. So I think Pakistan needs such outreach to improve its health statistics. Similarly, what Pakistan is doing on the side of economy, telehealth was related to you. On the side of economy, it is, while we have a youth bulge, while all of you have taken interest, and I was looking at the APPNA website before I came to talk to you, what you also are doing is establishing institutions and schools in your villages, wherever you come from, and improving the medical institutions. I believe that we are trying to, at the same time, improve the out of school children proportion in our society. Improve upon it, lessen it rather, lessen the out of school children, bring them into school. So what happens otherwise, if you don't educate, we have to impart skill sets to the uneducated, raw skill sets to the raw uneducated. Otherwise what we do, we export the cheapest kind of labor out, simple cheapest kind of labor without skill sets. You, my friends, are the elite. You are the diaspora on which Pakistan made its best effort to impart education. Of course, you have improved your status with better education as you have moved abroad, but I think we have to improve education, make it universal as far as Pakistan is concerned. Efforts are going on. Every government makes an effort, and I'm sure we keep on working in that area. So when we talk about the youth bulge, we think of the fact that those who we have not educated, we should be imparting them technical skill sets. And those we have semi-educated, we impart them, for example, digital skills program in Pakistan, which have been taken up by 2.4 million people. Digi skills program teaching digital literacy or teaching software writing, etc. Small 6 months free program which has been started. So we are working in that area to improve our youth bulge. We are working in the area of women. You will not be surprised by the fact that unless we strengthen women, besides only dialogue, which the insistence of which started from Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he said, without women participation in the economy of a country, no country can make progress. So we want to strengthen women. Let me give you an example and how we can handle that. The women property rights in Pakistan have not been given culturally, while religiously Islam is the religion which imparted these rights 1500 years ago. Well, while many Western and European countries imparted these rights only in the year 1900 or the first decade in the 20th century. So we have regressed. In fact, women property rights are not given. So laws have been passed, it is the matter with the ombudsman, but statement I am making is women have to have financial strength to be included in society. So property rights is one, financial inclusion, digital inclusion is two, opening of accounts to be able to make digital payments through the telephone is three, and today a woman can open an account without going to the bank, that is three. Then we are also encouraging Amazon and Facebook and so many other online abilities of help to women who want to work from home and be able to communicate. We are incorporating and encouraging women doctors who leave. Some of you may have graduated in the era when the admissions of women were about 1/4 of the male students in classes and colleges, and the Supreme Court came up with a verdict that you cannot discriminate between, there should be no gender discrimination. The result was about 70% or 80% girls come into medical college, but out of those more than 50 or 60% leave. So rather than we should look inwards into our society to make sure, by psychological counseling, by involving their parents into discussions starting from first year, by ensuring the fact that showing to the family that this is a safe society, that it is a safe mahal where your daughters can come and can still work, and encourage part-time functioning of women, welcoming them back. Even if they work, take time off for families, they should be welcomed back into the profession, because it is very expensive for a country like Pakistan to produce doctors and allow them not to practice except getting married well. Of course that's an advantage and that's a good thing, but I believe there should be something else besides that. So having talked about a number of these things, I would come to what you can do. And I believe what you have been doing is tremendous. I believe you can do more with the world shrinking, with online contact possibilities between you and your community from where you came, between you and your alumnus institutions where you came from. What we need is intellect. Of course you sacrifice, you do philanthropy, but more than that we need your minds. Why? Because you are in a society where intellectual inputs you have learnt organization, you have knowledge, and the easiest way of transferring that knowledge is through online participation in Pakistan. Whether you want to do philanthropy in your constituencies where you come from, or whether you want to do it in medicine, whether you want to do it through your colleges, but we want your minds and your participation. Keep in mind, a number of you will probably make a statement that you make an effort, but people are less welcoming. Keep in mind another issue. I used to tell people when I came back in the 70s from Michigan and in the 80s from California, I would tell people that opening my tap into a sea of knowledge does not give me as much satisfaction as opening my tap into dry desert-like situation as far as knowledge in Pakistan is concerned. So the new world is about knowledge, and that is where I believe Pakistan can always have an edge. The world is changing. The brick and mortar investments, much more than that, it is your intellectual investments to improve ourselves in the health sector, to improve ourselves in the in employment of women and the youth bulge, and in involving Pakistan, bringing Pakistan up. So that's what I said. We want your minds. We still want your hands-on participation in doing things. The world is small. You are actually living in Pakistan while you are living in earning in the US. It is so small. Some of you oldsters like me will remember that when I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, to make a call to Pakistan, the waiting time was about 10 hours to make contact. So the world has become so small. And the new generation may not even realizes what impact has happened over the years. So the other thing, then I want you to be able to teach. Then I want to, most important factor today, which I want to communicate to you, is to lobby for Pakistan. And you have strength, you have people who have good contacts. You are people who have good contacts with your senators and congressmen. Some of your first presidency during the first 10 years, I remember some of those. Some of my class fellows were presidents of APPNA in the first 10 years, and they had very good contacts with the congressmen and senators, and I'm sure you all do. So therefore, this is a time when we need your lobbying in US politics, which you do through your senators and congressmen. Now, where do you need lobbying? You need to increase goodwill. While there is a lot of misunderstanding today because of the rapid withdrawal of US forces from Afghanistan, there is a number of misgivings, and I think we are endeavoring to have a reset. That's where we need your lobbying. We need you to also look at the human rights violations which are happening in our neighborhood, in India, in Azad Kashmir. I want you to sensitize what is happening. It's a very dangerous thing which is happening. My relatives live in India, my cousins live in India, and I can't tell you the fear that is going on. Who will talk about them? You will talk about all human rights issues. A Pakistani should be able to talk about not only Muslims under pressure, but all communities, all minorities anywhere under pressure. So therefore, Pakistan has done wonders. Keep in mind, your strength has been refugees, for example. You see, look at the world today. There is an effort not to allow refugees coming from the Mediterranean. There is an effort where refugees are resisted. Your country, be proud of your country. Your country welcomed refugees for 40 years, 4 million refugees for 40 years. When people come and discuss human rights with us, I am surprised that they don't give weightage to something which has been done extraordinarily well. Today, I welcome the fact that Europe has opened its doors to Ukrainian refugees, and I think that's a good thing. It's a humanitarian issue. But Pakistan has been a leader as far as that is concerned. All of you, I was looking at the APPNA website, I must congratulate you. All of you came forward to help during the earthquake. All of you came forward to help during the floods, and I think that is where you have been very important. So, human rights violations, I wanted you to know that is where we want your input, and you will be able to vote in the future. What has happened previously is my efforts. I have done a lot of efforts. I've been pushing this issue since 2008 in the Supreme Court, the voting rights for overseas Pakistanis, and the country recognizes the fact that you are overseas Pakistanis. A lot of you have NICOP or even dual nationality. You are citizens of Pakistan as well as the United States, and you should be able to vote. What the government of Pakistan feels it needs to do is ensuring the fact that it is protected, it is not hacked, it is not hijacked, and that's not the topic which I would like to discuss, because I'm very emotional about the fact that you should all get the right to vote. Having said all this, I believe that Pakistan has a unique quality, and during the last year I read 2 books which I must bring to your attention, from which I am quoting something to communicate the fact that Pakistanis are passionate. Number 1 is, let me register with you that a new polarization is taking place. A new, in the kaleidoscope which we used to have when we were kids, a new orientation in the world is happening. Pakistan is wanting to walk a tightrope. Pakistan is wanting to be non-partisan in some ways, as long as we can manage that, not to be in any particular group if Pakistan can manage that. We believe that the war in Ukraine has led to a very harmful cycle of economic situations and oil expense and inflation, which is worrying all small countries. The new polarization is very surprising. It is a loss to all of you and to me, because you remember the doctrine, the MAD doctrine, which was mutually assured destruction, where a lot of US hard-earned money and other countries' hard-earned money went into nuclear weapons to destroy the world 6 times or 7 times over. So polarizations are always dangerous. Polarizations take money away from sectors in the world where they could be of great help. So looking at that, I was mentioning to you the two books I read, and that is where I need to talk about Pakistan. One is Francis Fukuyama's book, The End of History, in which he said that the future of mankind is settled as far as consultation is concerned, mushawarat and democracy is settled. There can be different forms of democracy. As far as trade and work is concerned, capitalism and different forms of capitalism are settled. So therefore that is end of history. Until Samuel P. Huntington came back a few years later and talked about passion. The Greek thymos. What Socrates said, that to establish a state, a good city state, there needs to be a democracy, there needs to be trade, but without passion, which you guys have, which you women have for Pakistan, without that passion, Pakistan will not succeed. And that passion I see there in your eyes, in your work over the years, and there's a huge responsibility on all of you regarding the fact that I believe within my lifetime and your lifetime, we must see Pakistan as a progressive country in a community of nations, progressive community in a community of nations where it can be independent, and that is very important to be to have your identity. Mr. Ayub Khan wrote, General Ayub Khan, the president, wrote Friends Not Masters. Mr. Bhutto wrote about the myth of independence. Unless we are economically on our feet, we will not be independent in the true sense of the word. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry I must have taken a few minutes more, but I would welcome questions if there are any.